Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network, presented by our friends at LG&E and KU. Appreciate all they do for us and appreciate all you do for me, Sean Smith. Welcome back. What's going on, buddy?
I mean, we've been better, right? All of us have been better, but I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually I've decided I've made a decision. This show is not going to be a big negative. Steven coughing up a lung in the background. Good grief, dude. I've decided
Take two. Can we do this for the season two?
that this show is not going to be just a negative cesspool of terrible, ugly, just disgusting. Like I'm kind of over it. Like, it was such a bad time in Nashville. That experience was what it was. The game was what it was. That I've kind of given ourselves, like, we got to talk about it, but like 10 minutes of negativity, death, despair, and destruction. And then we turn the page and say, all right, how does it get fixed? Because this is what it is. The product sucks. How does this product get turned around? So let's briefly share our thoughts on how things unfolded. The booze, the craziness, all of the stuff that unfolded down in Nashville, and the 35 absolute beatdown, 35-point beatdown at the hands of Gonzaga, and then we talk about what's next and how this gets fixed somehow, some way. So your thoughts on Friday night?
Brutal. That was really difficult to watch. It was difficult to follow. It was even more difficult, I thought, to go back and watch it a second time, just because then you pull apart some things that you didn't see the first go around, because there's just so much wrong, right? Like, there's so much that Kentucky's not doing. It's the lack of effort. I kept calling it attention to details, right? Those first few games of the season that they were winning in non-conference, but then it just turned into a lack of just not wanting to. And they just don't look like they thoroughly enjoy doing anything together. And they look just completely lost in all phases of the game. And it's something that I thought after Louisville, there was enough life there in spurts that they would get back on track. And then Michigan State just exposed some more. And I know I didn't get to talk post North Carolina, but the final play of the North Carolina game kind of told me all that I needed to know. Just how discombobulated they were in a tying situation in a game where Colin Chandler is not taking the ball out of bounds, and then you end up getting your best 3-point shooter taking the ball out of bounds in a game where you're down 3 with under 3. And I was like, this team looks poorly coached right now. They're not only playing the game poorly and lacking effort, they look like they're not prepared in all phases of the game. And I don't know how much of that's to blame on the staff. I don't know how much that's to blame on the players, but it's been an all systems failure. And Friday night was just kind of the hammer and nail right there. That I just, in front of that crowd in that building, that's one of the most passionate buildings when Kentucky gets there. It was a really rough place to see them play that poorly.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't do us any good to pile on them at this point, knowing that I think BBN did it for them. Like, I think that was really all you need to hear and see is, it's not about a media member, fanboy, sunshine pump, or whatever, like whatever you want to call me and us, getting angry and upset about the performances and all that. Like, we have to fill the void with something. Like, we're going to talk one way or the other, good, bad, or ugly, but the fan base showing up 98% proud, that was a special environment. And they said everything that needs to be said about their expectation, the standard that is not being met right now for Kentucky basketball, how poorly coached this team is, the roster construction questions, the attitude and effort and intensity, and how is it that we go back to the Michigan State loss and you hear Otega Owe at the podium say that his effort and intensity isn't where it needs to be, and here we are still 2 weeks later having those same conversations. It's a broken product. This team is just not where it needs to be, and it's getting uglier before it gets better. How has it gone downhill so quickly, because I don't think that this team truly on paper by any stretch of the imagination is 35 points worse than Gonzaga. They're just not. They're not even as bad as the final score would indicate against Louisville, against Michigan State, and closer to North Carolina. But again, I'm not over the moon about North Carolina as a program. That should have been there's a reason why Kentucky was an 8.5-point favorite against North Carolina. That should have been a comfortable win. They're not as bad as these scores are reflecting, Sean. Why is that?
When they lost to Louisville, and look, I've sat here for the last few days trying to get my thoughts ready about which direction I want to go with what I want to say, because you're right, and I've tried for the longest time to not be negative, and I like to think that I find a balance between finding issues that are related to basketball and finding issues that are unrelated to basketball. And right now, I'm having a very difficult time separating them because there's basketball issues, and then I feel like there's issues that are beyond basketball too, that are just selfish things that I see. Guys kind of like Otega Oweh in the corner when Denzel Aberdeen doesn't make a find, and then you can tell the frustration of not getting the ball. Like those things that are just kind of rearing their head, that I'm like, these guys just don't look like they're having fun playing with each other. And until you fix and correct some of those things, I don't think the main product's getting fixed. Mark Pope's comments now after Louisville and the defeated body language starting to make a little bit more sense to me, because I think he kind of seen the wheels falling off after that night. And I don't know what's going on inside the locker room or inside the practice gym and things like that, Jack, but it just feels like that there's basketball issues. It feels like there's things that are maybe individual issues that guys can't let go. And I'm talking more along the lines of you're in your feelings about maybe your role. You're in your feelings about you're not getting the shots that you want. And there's something there on top of it that these guys just aren't playing hard. And Gonzaga's not 94-59 better than Kentucky. And I think that's what's so deflating for Pope right now is he put this roster together with the utmost confidence that it was going to be a competitor, and not just a competitor, but a group last year they had that just fought their way to what they got. They didn't out-talent anybody a year ago. They just out-fought and out-executed. Right now, Kentucky's not executing, but they're also, the bigger problem is, Jack, they're not fighting. Like, there is no fight and will over there. Jason Hart showed the most.
Dude, that was something that in a very surreal night with the boos and just the fan reaction and stuff, like seeing Jason Hart jump up and like get in the middle of that huddle, and I mean he was pointing and screaming, and like it was fight, like it was intensity, it was passion that we just haven't seen with this group at all this season. So hey, if that's what it takes, like I mean if it takes jumping these kids' butt and saying like, hey, this product is unacceptable, like I need that. I need to see the fire, man.
You have to, and you just want to see a mindset change, right? Like when things are hard right now, things are difficult, nothing's going their way. I don't think anything's going their way as individuals on the floor. I don't think anything's going their way collectively on the floor. And I know that the whole identity thing has been a problem, but I'm not even going to talk identity now. It's more so just the will to compete. Like, I don't see the will to compete. Like, we've piled on him, I know, but Otega Oweh, that clip of him just not sprinting back and then just getting back cut in transition. Like, but those are things that not just Otega's doing. It's across the board. There's guys that just are not giving effort, not fighting. And to have the stretch that they had to close the North Carolina game where they couldn't score, just gap after gap after gap of field goals. And then you see the start to this one. They just can't make a field goal. I didn't think that would be the area that we would be kind of looking at and circling the most, saying, man, this team is struggling to run offense because of who Mark Pope is and who he's been. But it is an absolute struggle on that in the floor. They're not running anything. Like, the ball's not getting inside the three-point line. It's very painful to watch. And I just don't see a sense of urgency from Kentucky. Like, I wanted them to come out of that game and compete like they had lost 3 major games in a row. Whether they won this one or not, I wanted to see the fight and compete in the competition. They don't have it right now. how are those practices? Are practices competitive right now, or are those looking the same as what we see on game day, Jack? Because right now Kentucky's struggling to compete, not just execute and try to win. They're struggling to compete. And until they do that, it's not going to get any better.
So we go back to the offseason and the preseason especially, because there is a sense of accountability for us because we spent the entire summer and preseason talking about this team as a Final Four contender, and I believed in the talents. I really did like the roster construction in real time. I thought that maybe it was a level of like overconfidence in the system in the buy-in that maybe you just kind of assume that comes with when you have a player-friendly system like Mark Pope's offense and how it engages everybody and kind of brings the best and the confidence. You got Lamont Butler shooting career numbers, and just go down the list of last year's group, and you just kind of take the individual talent and mesh it in with the system and go, hey, this is going to work. Like this is those two things are going to work together. And that was how it was reflected in the intel over the course of the summer, and what people from inside the program and people on the staff were relaying that message, saying, hey, it's not a perfect product right now, but man, there's so much here. There's just we can beat you in a million different ways, and it's just going to be kind of a game by game how we decide to beat you. That level of just unbelievable confidence, to the point where Mark Pope is comparing this roster to a Ferrari and saying, we have a team built very similarly to the 1996 championship team that I was a part of, but will the buy-in be there? Can we get there in terms of so many pieces coming together in 2026? And that quote now, Sean, kind of it tells us everything that we need to know, that were there doubts even then about like, hey, I love the individual pieces that we brought in, but man, there's something about the connective tissue here that's just not holding together. And will it be able to get put together or get fixed at some point? Maybe that was the first sign of hesitancy, but everybody will look at the Ferrari quote and everybody will look at the 96 championship comparison and say, how did we get from that to this?
They will, and then the 22 million number that just keeps get thrown out, like it's becoming a punching bag thing now, right? Like from all angles. But I mean, it is what it is, and I can't really discuss how it gets better until I see them compete, right? Like I want to sit here and think do I think they can play better basketball than what I've watched? Yes, like 100% they can. But I can't really dive into the details of how it gets better until I see the competition level pick up. And that's where you collectively do something, but it starts individually with your willingness to compete. If you are not willing to compete, then you're not adding to what we got to do to fix this. And when Mark Pope finds 5, 6, however many guys to figure it out and compete, then he's got something to work with. But right now, Jack, I'm having a hard time finding a handful of guys that are going out there and I feel like laying it all on the line for what the front of the jersey says. And I mean, that was bad Friday. That was just all. I felt like guys showed up, and you were talking about the way that Gonzaga was having fun in warm-ups and pregame. They were loose, and Kentucky just didn't. I didn't see any fight from the opening tip. You had just lost in a game that you let get away from you because you didn't execute, you didn't make shots. And then you come back and you have an opportunity in front of a neutral floor where it wasn't neutral at all, where your fan base is backing you, trying to will you out of this. And they'll continue to try. And they let them down. And I know Mark Pope wears it on his sleeve because he cares about the program. There's got to be guys that actually go out there and play out of those 5 guys that give the same willingness to compete and fight. And I'm not seeing the competition there at all. And the comments from the summer, obviously this staff saw something that led him to believe that. And look, we saw it too against Purdue, and I get it. That wasn't an all in-depth scout. Kentucky still looked better.
Yeah, go back and just rewatch that game, and that team is not this team. Like it is a brokenness that has come. I mean, just the difference between just even not even just shots being made and things like that, but just approach and intensity and confidence. Like it's just a level of, and that's my next question for you, Sean. Is it as simple as like a yips thing? Like Pope said that the offense is paralyzed right now. Does it come down to ability, or is it as simple as like this is a broken offense, a paralyzed offense, as he referred to it as, that just has lost all confidence? Like, I mean, we're airballing layups, dude. Like that any NAIA kid, is converting layups at a higher rate than Kentucky is right now. So like how much of it is a mental thing, I guess, is my big question.
I mean, when it gets to this point for some guys, for some I think it's mental. For others, I think it's lack of a willingness to compete. And when you put those two together, nobody right now is allowed to be the best version of themselves, because this team needs all of its pieces to contribute and do what they want to do. Ortega has not been good from beginning till now. Like, just has not been good. And I'm not just talking about Ortega. I'm talking about everyone. The freshmen have had their moments. Jasper's struggling. Malachi's, had his moments, but is obviously still going to make some mistakes as a freshman, right? Like, still trying to figure out what Yelovich adds. Cam Williams, like all these pieces. It's been something, and nobody's really building confidence. And what's happening is they're losing confidence as they go. They're not building anything. And they're not building it in these games that they're just better than. It's going to take competing and beating in Indiana, competing and beating in St. John's, something that gives you a pulse. And they're not finding it in a game like they're going to play tomorrow night. But you want to see a different level of competition, right? You want to see them fighting and doing some things. But it's hard to dive into basketball when you look at the tape and just see the lack of fight that they've had. Like, losing's okay. Like, let me rephrase that. Losing at Kentucky's not okay, but as a coach, you can accept it if you know you're getting maximum effort. And I can handle it if it's an execution thing. All right, we didn't execute. Let's go to the tape. Let's fix this. Let's go to practice, and let's be better the next time out. That's different. Turning on the tape and seeing, I can't really say if we didn't execute because we didn't fight, is just different. And I would love to take that tape and throw it out, because that's one of the most embarrassing 40 minutes of Kentucky basketball history. And now, if you don't come out and have a pulse, I question your will and want to even more after that.
And that's where I think I question. So I don't know if it was kind of a polarizing media op today with Denzel Aberdeen and Jasper Johnson. I think, sending Jasper out there right now doesn't, I don't think that was the right call, just in terms of what the fan base is wanting to hear. Like, Jasper's not playing well. He's a freshman. He hasn't experienced kind of the trials and triumphs and tribulations that come with the, ups and downs and lefts and rights that come with a college basketball season. So just not necessarily the leader in the one single voice coming from as a representation of the program right now that you're necessarily looking for. Nothing against Jasper. It's just, I don't think the right fit. But a lot of the questions about the effort and the want to, and some mixed messaging. Jasper says he doesn't think that there's an issue with effort. Denzel kind of opens his, kind of a mini opening statement. Ben Roberts said, "Hey, what's the vibe of the locker room right now?" And he kind of just gives a little mini, like, hey, effort and intensity isn't where it needs to be. It's going to change. It's something that so mixed messaging there, but there was a lot of talk about how the execution is kind of leading to, the lack of execution is leading to some of the mental slip ups, that they're just not seeing the shots falling. And that's kind of translating to, dogging it defensively, and just kind of, it's bleeding into other areas of the game, that the things that they're doing in practice and hitting shots and the well-oiled machine that they saw all summer, it's just not translating to the floor. And it's kind of led to nothing works, I guess, kind of mindset. So do you buy that? Does it come down to simply kind of the old fashioned, just got to see one shot fall, winning cures all? Like, is it as simple as that, or is it something deeper?
I mean, I do think that winning could cure a lot for them, and I think finding something to feel good about would go a long way because it's been a while since they've been allowed to celebrate something. And I mean, I get it. Like we've talked about the schedule and the wins, and we've said on here for 3 weeks now, nobody's going to feel better about this team until they beat someone, and they haven't yet. And not only have they not beaten someone, they haven't looked competitive outside. And I know North Carolina was a tight game, but it was one of those. It's like I can't believe that you lost this game. Top result, right? And you're building the. I don't think North Carolina's great. I mean, they have some pieces. Obviously, we know what Caleb Wilson's capable of, but Kentucky just played poorly that game. I thought it looked like two bad teams playing that night with some of the struggles that I saw. Can it be better than what it has been? Yes. I'm afraid to think it could get worse. Like, I don't want to even go down that route. So I think a lot of it is, Jack, when you get guys like this, it's really hard in this game to build confidence, and it's easy to lose it. And if you're caught up in your individual performance, and I believe some guys are, and you're not playing well, you're not making shots, I think it's easy then for your effort to slip. Some guys, though, I just feel like the effort's just not there, regardless of good performance, making shots or not. And it's a fatal combo. The defensive end of the floor is where I think Kentucky's effort should be the most. On the glass, being in the right position, doing the right thing, paying attention to the details. Continue doing those things and then allow shots to fall for you. Right now, if shots were falling, you're still giving up 94. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to figure out that end of the floor as well. And right now, I still feel like the Kentucky's biggest issue is within itself. And it's a collective thing. We keep talking about finding a team identity and individuals needing to find their identity. As guys build confidence, if they can, and hopeful that they can, then I think you start to see some things turn in your favor. Now, the jury's still out on how good this team can be because we've not seen them play quality basketball against anyone that matters. So I'm not ready to just hammer it home and say it's done because I'd like to see them compete for 40 and execute and do some things, and then allow Pope and the staff to kind of figure out where they want to go rotation wise. Because the last few games, I think it's just been, God, please somebody play well or somebody give us something that nothing's. They're having a hard time. It's hard to sustain confidence. God, it's hard to build it too. But once you build a little bit, I think then it can roll in their favor. But Jack, the other thing goes, once you start to lose it, it snowballs. And I think right now Kentucky's caught in an avalanche.
Perfect description. Like that's the feeling. Like, and I think that's part of the reason why we all just need a fresh start, clean slate, and say, okay, we are at rock bottom. We are at the bottom of the mountain. The snow is piled up on top of us. Now it's time to just dig out and start the trek up the mountain again. Like that is where we are. And there are some small steps forward that we got a couple of big time developments today. And just the fact that you got Jalen Lowe back in that one, albeit in a poor individual performance for him. Big picture, there's no salvaging this unless Jalen Lowe is Jalen Lowe and playing like an all-SEC talent. So we're going to talk about that here in just a second, some of those developments. But before that, LG&E and KU knows that when the lights go out, it can feel like a full-court press, but staying in the know is an easy win. Update your phone number in the LG&E and KU mobile app or in My Account. If the power goes out, you'll get play-by-play text from 454-358 with outage updates, safety information, and time estimates for power restoration. Can't text? No problem. We'll call the landline on your account with the same update so you're never left in the dark, because in the dark there's no defense. But with LGN and KU, you've always got a team working to get the lights back on and let you know the game plan. Update your number today at lge-ku.com/outages. Jalen Lowe comes back, scores 1 point, essentially a non-factor in a game that everybody is a non-factor. So really don't take a whole lot from that. But Jalen Lowe was the second best, if not best player on the team the entire summer. So no matter what you think of this roster, good, bad, ugly, whatever you think of Colin Chandler, whatever you think of your optimism about, Denzel Aberdeen, any of these other guys, Jalen Lowe was better for the essentially from the minute he set foot on campus. So it's better than anything that you've seen up to this point without Jalen on the floor. So knowing that he has to knock some rust off, he has to get the stupid shoulder pad thing, like that is bothering him. It's a mental thing with that, it's heavy trying to deal with just kind of the just that second thought in the back of your mind that you have that extra cyborg arm on top of you. Getting him back on the floor is just a game changer for any chance of this thing getting fixed, in terms of a lot of the issues that we've seen with this group, with the pace and the spacing and the playmaking and facilitating and the paint touches and creating better shots. All of that stuff is Jalen's MO, and those are some of the things that have been missing. What does that mean, his sustained health, assuming that he can get through these practices? Again, we survived and lived to see another day. Gonna give it another go against NC Central, so we're just building momentum at this point. What can Jalen be, and does it kind of bleed into the other guys that are maybe playing out of position, the Denzels, the Collins, the Ortegas, and so on and so forth?
To me, Kentucky needs all of its pieces at some point to get to the peak of what it wants to be and what we all thought it could be leading up to the season. But and Jalen will help, because Kentucky does have issues of, I feel like, guys trying to do things on their own at times. Maybe it's it's up to me to fix this. Maybe I'll force an issue here and try to create a basket. Well, I don't know if Kentucky's not the team, and I don't want them to be, where somebody feels like they have to throw a cape on, right? Like last year, there was nobody just throwing the cape on. It was a collective unit that was playing well, that was running their system of what they want to do offensively, that was trying to rebound collectively, everything was a collective one in a whole. Right now, I feel like it's just a fractured thing, where are some of these things that we're seeing just guys being selfish, or are some of the things guys being selfish as a result of actually trying to fix it themselves? Because it can come off the same. And Jalen, to me, healthy and playing and in rhythm, can find and create some opportunities for Kentucky maybe to make some shots. Now, they're shooting it poorly. You had a game earlier in the week where they barely got to 13 3-point attempts. And then you tried it the other way, where you shoot a lot and get to that number of where you're wanting to get to, and the result was the same. You didn't make many. So it's hard to figure out right now really what they want to do and how they want to play. And I believe that Mark is trying to still figure that out, but it's hard to really pinpoint something when you're trying to just build some type of consistency and confidence within it. But I believe having Jalen Lowe available will help some of those things. And maybe eventually these guys will start seeing the ball fall through. But they've got to find a better way offensively, and whatever they're running right now is not working. You need to do some different things. Maybe you need to experiment and try to get creative with some opportunities and some looks. Maybe it's getting better in transition, but you're not going to get better there until you start doing a lot better on the defensive glass, the defensive end of the floor. You turn your defense into offense. Those can create some opportunities for you. We know that this hasn't been a team or a program that's been turning people over for 2 years. So having him back will certainly help, because it'll allow guys to slide. But when it does, the ball's still got to go to places. And I'm confident that they can play better basketball than what we've seen. I'm not going to sit here and say that it can't be fixed. Now, can it be fixed to the level of winning a national championship? That remains to be seen. Like, there's a long way to go. Like, they got to get in the tournament, because right now they don't have a resume.
Step one, Jalen Lowe. We're in the midst of that. Step two, I guess there's step two and step three kind of overlap with one another. We got two updates from Mark Pope today, and I have my own individual update on one of them. Mo Diabate now day to day, quote unquote. The vibe that Pope gave in his call-in show, it was fine. I don't think a ton of optimism that he's going to be playing tomorrow and that he's going to be this magical savior for any of this. But it's another piece. It's another thing to keep in mind as we, talk about, hey, he hasn't been on the floor in 4 games. You're missing the toughness. You're missing some of those things that are clearly missing right now. But the biggest update, the one that I think fans care about more than just about anything in the world, and Steven, get this picture up. I just sent it to you, but Jaden Quaintance makes his full contact 5-on-5 debut at the Joe Kraft Center. I guess it was Rupp Arena Day, and looks good. It's a work in progress with a lot of things in terms of, hey, he hasn't been in a full game live situation since last February. He had ACL surgery in March. So it's going to be a minute, especially on the conditioning side. So in all my conversations with people that know his situation and exactly what the plan is for him, we are past all of the recovery parts and just kind of the rehab side of getting his knee where it needs to be. His knee is perfect. It's ready to go. If it just came down to his knee right now, he would be playing live game action. The issue is that his body elsewhere is just not physically where it needs to be in terms of conditioning. He is just so behind, so rusty that that's going to be a minute, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. It's going to be a minute. I think he's very close. I really do think that we are nearing a return. Mark Pope said tonight that he's a ways away from making his game debut. I actually disagree in some sense. Like that, the way he phrased that kind of makes you think, oh, well, we're not going to see him till mid January or something like that. I think we are in a kind of week by week basis at this stage. I'm not expecting him to play this week against NC Central or in Indiana, but I think once we get to that point, next week kind of begins the next stages of his ramp up with the conditioning and kind of going multiple days in a row of practice, ramping up to full speed, getting kind of that conditioning side of things. And we'll see about St. John's. I doubt St. John's, but I think anything past that point, I think we're full steam ahead. Let's get Jaden Quaintance back on the floor. What does that mean in terms of optimism for this fan base? I think more than anything, Sean, it's about giving this fan base kind of chunks at a time of getting back in the good graces of this team, getting the team getting back in the good graces of BBN. They are absolute rock bottom in terms of optimism and faith in Mark Pope to turn this thing around. But if you can segment this into the weeks, like what did we call it last year? The little pockets that the pods. This pod is a massive one to just get back in the, hey, I'm doubtful, but I'm at least not totally selling my stock. I'm just pissed at you. Gotta win by 100 tomorrow night. Again, it's not really a whole lot we can learn from beating the worst team on the schedule in NC Central by 100. Win that one. Absolute non-negotiable beating Indiana on Saturday. There is nothing that you can do to make this fan base feel better if you lose that game on Saturday. Absolutely non-negotiable. You have to win that game. And then I think we get to a point where now we're on Jaden Quaintance watch. Now Jalen, fingers crossed, where he's back to full strength and feeling confident in himself. And then we'll see what happens with Mo Diabate. But you kind of have something to hang on to while also having the bad taste out of your mouth from Gonzaga. I think that's a non-negotiable. 2-0 this week.
It is. With Quaintance, I mean, getting that guy out there and getting a guy that can compete for you defensively and make some plays that you're not getting out of that position.
I mean,
And
that picture, that picture, him getting his I mean, high pointing the basketball on Cam Williams as long as he is high pointing, and apparently that was like one of the least impressive things that he did today. Pin stuff on the backboard, and was just the instinct. You could tell the rust was obviously there, but the instinct went nowhere. There's a lot to love on that side of the floor.
It's a transition starter for you, right? And here we are talking about how do you score more? How are you more efficient offensively? Well, I think being better in transition is one way of doing it. Now, this team right now has not been great at doing those things. They've not been great at turning people over. They've not been great at getting out in the open floor, which then you're not great at knocking down shots from the perimeter. So it's just been a combination of a lot of bad. That if you can get something that can give you an opportunity to find some good, it's going to go a long ways towards putting you in a better position to compete and win basketball games. So getting him back from a talent standpoint would be massive. But just another guy that I think will be eager to get out there on the floor and compete, right? Like he may pick up the level of competition for everyone. Mark Pope right now, Jack, I believe would be willing to try anything to change the fortune of what they've had. But you're right. If you continue to lose in the non-conference, and this was a non-conference schedule that was loaded with a lot of good opportunities for you to get some quality wins. And we talked about when you lost the first one at Louisville, it made the one against Michigan State weigh even more. And when you lost that one, you had to find a way to protect home court against North Carolina. They didn't. And then obviously what happened Friday night, I don't think any of us really had confidence that Kentucky was going to go and win just based off of what we had seen the weeks prior. But now you're getting into a stretch that if you don't build something in the non-conference schedule, this isn't – the SEC is going to present opportunities with quad ones, but there's a lot of games that Kentucky's got to play in places that you don't have a ton of confidence right now in them getting victories, that you've got to have something to stand on to build a resume. And right now Kentucky really doesn't have a resume.
Yeah. Pope said tonight, kind of sticking with the JQ theme, Pope said tonight that as JQ comes back, that they're starting the process of shaking up the rotation and the lineups and just kind of hitting reset on things. There's a lot of that type of verbiage tonight that, they're just kind of throwing everything in the trash and hitting reset on all of this. And part of that includes kind of building around JQ a little bit and the lineups changing to favor him. And is that a good idea? Like, what do you think is, knowing his versatility and the kind of the Amari Williams kind of mindset? Think of the playmaking and getting downhill and being kind of a point forward, if you will. Is that the vision for this? Is that the best way to salvage this roster? Knowing the other pieces around, you're missing the shooting, but I think spacing is probably going to help a little bit, and not getting as congested with just plotters kind of getting up and down the floor. Like I think that there is something that can be worked with if you kind of throw him into an Amari Williams role.
So talking about Jaden Quainton's playing come up some of that middle third
and initiating the way we saw Amari initiate the offense.
He's better suited than BG and Malachi. Now Malachi's done some good things. Like Malachi has played with some effort. Now there were some things on Friday night that I was like, okay, it's starting to. We talked slippage a year ago. Well, the slippage is starting to carry over to guys' lack of competing, because I just don't think the team's overall competing right now. So I saw some of that. But JQ is better suited to do some of those things. And a skill set and a guy that can win some. The term in football obviously is one-on-ones, right? You want to win some one-on-ones. Well, Jaden Quainton can win some of those one-on-ones for you in that part of the floor. And he can also play some bully ball too, Jack, and just make some plays not only defensively but at the rim offensively that Kentucky maybe isn't getting right now. Overall, they've got to find ways to. You don't have. I'm not saying this team has to shoot 37-38% from three to be effective, but you at least got to knock down enough, and enough at the right spots at the right time, just to give you something to then be able to play in space. because Pope's had a system. He's preached this system, trying to get to spots, trying to get to that deep corner. And right now, guys, he doesn't have guys that are making shots, but they're also not doing a lot of the same things that they did a year ago. And I am wondering how much of that is because they don't have a guy that's maybe comfortable running that in the middle third of the floor. And for the longest time, we thought, well, if it's not Garrison, if it's not Moreno, maybe Mo could do it. And now he's not been available. So now you're missing another guy. So it's created some things for Kentucky that I think is some friction with what they want to be offensively. And then you throw in the ability to just not make shots, and it's just a double issue of trying to find something. So I do think getting him and piecing him in there, it will improve, and you'll get more efficient with some things, but it's going to take some guys also knocking down shots around it, and Kentucky's got to find that.
You, as a BBN member, need to find our friends at Roback, a proud partner of KSR. Get the best fit and the best feel for their incredibly comfortable activewear, from polos and Q-zips to shorts and Delta Performance pants. You will look good and feel good with Roback. Use promo code KSR for 20% off your first purchase at Roback.com. The perfect holiday gift for the diehard Kentucky fan in your life. Sean, as a coach, and I know we got to start wrapping this up with you at least, and I don't know if Steven wants to jump in and share some thoughts and see if he can be optimistic or pessimistic. Let's see what the vibe is after a very ugly trip down there to Nashville together. But you as a coach, what would you do if you kind of had, I don't want to say a bad apple in the locker room, but you could tell, hey, these guys are not clicking, they're not connecting, the vibes are just negative right now. What is the answer? We saw, had a couple people that were at practice. There was that BBN United practice today at Rupp Arena. That there was a lot of sprints up to the rafters of Rupp. That when things went south, Pope just sent them. So is it just do you just run them? Do you Rick Pitino them, run them until they throw up everywhere and say, one way or another, we're gonna break you, break these bad habits? Like what is the coach mentality? Do you go harder? Do you go softer? How would you approach it?
If I had a bad apple,
you know what I mean? Like I don't know if it's person or if it's just a couple of people. Yeah,
it's one of those things, right? Where it's much easier to pull someone down than it is to pull someone up, right? And when you're talking, if you got someone, and I don't know this, I'm not in there, but like if there's somebody if there is, I don't want to call it team turmoil because we don't know exactly what it looks like, right? Like, and I'm not going to put unfair things out there, but to me, it just looks like that this needs to be a player-led thing. That I don't know how much of this can be figured out from just Mark Pope and the staff. Now, do they have some blame? Yeah, because me as an assistant coach, I know if there's things, it's on us at times to really dive in because the relationships are different, right? Like the relationship that I have with a guy is different than the relationship that a head coach has with a player. So like maybe it's an assistant-led thing that's really gathering guys and getting it figured out. And then here comes Pope with his thing. It takes a collective effort. Now when it comes to the team, I think a lot of these issues, Jack, guys got to look inward at themselves and figure it out. And it starts with the players. And then from there, it would be easier to critique some of the things that you see basketball-wise. Now, not knowing what you want to do down 3 with under 3 to go, that's a coaching problem. But how much of that is a coaching problem due to the other energy that they're having to use to figure everything else out? That's where it becomes a problem, because those are situations that you go over. We go over them every day in practice at the high school level, that we know if there's 4 or 5 and or under, we know exactly what we're going to and where guys are supposed to be. And they had a monitor review and had a chance to get it right, and they didn't get it right. And that was the biggest red flag of the season for me, was you're down 3 and Colin Chandler throws it in. Even if he is your best passer, he's also your best 3-point shooter. And it just was just out of sync. So I don't really know. All I know is, to me, it starts with the players, and players got to make individual decisions within themselves to figure this thing out. And once that happens, I think you can turn a corner and start getting better.
Let's get you out of here. Give me one reason why we're going to win this pod, go 2-0 this week, and then have the nice long week break going into St. John's and feel, going into St. John's and feel all right. We're in position to beat Rick Pitino, and we're going to go into the holiday season feeling like the SEC schedule isn't going to be a total juggernaut that we're going to drown and suffer and die early.
To me, when you hear boos like you heard the other night, you have to take those personally. And I don't ever want to sit here and encourage fans to boo the team. I wouldn't want that as a coach. I wouldn't want, but the effort that I saw or lack thereof, and Mark Pope said it was warranted, right? So when you hear that, you better take it to heart. You better take it personally, because there are people sitting in those seats. There are people sitting in their living room that have their culture and their livelihood has been Kentucky basketball. And when you put that jersey over and put Kentucky on your chest, you take on a responsibility of thousands of guys that have done it before you. And do you have some pride about yourself? Do you give a damn about it? Not just about Kentucky, but about yourself and the way that you compete. I do think that they're going to have some moments where they're going to clean it up and probably get you believing, but it's about finding a way to get there first, and then it's about sustaining it. So the battle right now is to get the ball rolling. And if they can just get something rolling in a positive direction, Jack, I think they can put some success together, but keeping it rolling in that direction is going to be the challenging thing. But right now they just got to have something good happen to them, and finding a way to beat Indiana would be a nice start.
Necessary start. Sean, appreciate you jumping on. You got some scouting to do. Get the heck out of here and go ace that test. Something that our current staff can't currently say about itself. But Sean, appreciate you jumping on with us. We'll swap you out and hopefully get some good vibes from Steven here. I think Steven's ready to swap in. Until then, though, sources say is also excited to partner with Monticello Bank. Enjoy the home court advantage with Monticello Bank's HELOC special and use the equity you built in your home to finance special home projects and improvements. Score big with a fantastic introductory rate and attractive closing costs with 21 locations in 15 counties across Kentucky. We are just around the corner, so hurry in and speak with one of our mortgage lenders about this limited time offer today. Find us on the web at mbcbank.com. Monticello Bank, where people matter. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Stephen Peak, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. Let me turn my head around. What are we doing here? All right, here we go. I don't know who I thought I was for a second. I was hacked today. So other than that,
what the hell happened? Like, why? I thought you just started getting into cryptocurrency. Just you gave up on Kentucky basketball and said, "Hey, I'm just gonna be." That's why your hat was backwards. You turned into a crypto bro in 12 minutes.
I am an idiot, and I thought I was probably one of thousands of people who got this message. I was feel like the only one who fell for it. So
I got it, and I saw it and said, "Wow, it'd be really dumb for somebody to click on this link." And,
Wouldn't it be?
Do that. And then you got locked shortly afterward, and so I hate to be that way, but that's kind of on you, bro.
Yeah. So if you at Stephen P KSR, I'm not doing anything with crypto. So if you ever see anything crypto with me, unless you hear it from me personally, I have nothing to do with cryptocurrencies or anything. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So don't.
If you get a link for a survey from any medium, any suspicious link that says, "Hey, Spotify and Google would like to put me on some survey thing," it's garbage. It's nonsense. So
yes,
Steve needs to take that L. Hopefully, are you going to get your account back? Like, what's the deal there?
So I got it working we're working it out with Twitter. It'll happen eventually, but very, very frustrated. Jack, maybe it was the few hours of sleep, or I don't know. Just let me make my excuses. You went through the same thing that I did, but in watching our team get absolutely blown out, just had my head in a weird space. And it was like, this happened to me before with something different. And the second that I put my information, I was like, dude, what are you doing? And then I did the same thing again, and I closed out of everything. So I thought I was good. Anyway, we'll get that worked out. What I hope, but more than anything, I will take my Twitter account forever being gone. They can have it. I don't care. They can have it forever, and we can sell crypto through that account as long as they want to. If Kentucky basketball can turn this stuff around, that would make up for everything. I could care less about Lake Dog 3616. I promise it was trying to help somebody out with their podcast they were going to be on. I think there wasn't a podcast for them to be on, Jack. I'm starting to believe there was no podcast.
You really? No kidding.
Can I show you something though? You said to be positive when I came in here, and I
only good vibes.
Yeah. So here's what I got. Now this is going to sound like a negative, but I promise it's a positive. Okay. So right here, what do you think happens
on this current play?
Yeah. So Jasper's, for those listening, Jasper's driving down the lane, and there are 10 Gonzaga. I mean, I'm getting the name wrong all the time. So I'm just gonna, I know the Gonzaga fans hate it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. There are 10 Bulldog eyes on Jasper. He's got Otega wide open in the corner, who is about a 38% shooter, actually, 37 and change shooter on catch and shoot. And Jasper just takes that shot. There are so many, and I finally went through and watched the game, Jack, and there are just so many times. These were literally 5 possessions in a row. This one, you have an easy layup, except the ball gets thrown at his knee and it goes out of bounds, or it goes to Gonzaga. Trent Noah doesn't shoot this shot. You have Malachi here, who misses that layup. And there was just so many times. And then the very next possession, these are all consecutive possessions, by the way. Otega.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, this isn't a consecutive possession. This is later on. He's got Colin Chandler open for a 3 here. He takes it himself. So there's I think what's going on is that these guys are sort of panicking, and they all just want to fix it themselves. Could that possibly be it?
Yeah, and I think there's some that's a trickle down from the coaching staff. I think there is a panic from the coaching staff as well, of just like Pope was asked about some very small decision that he made, going small and whatever. And he said that was an act of desperation. That there's no real rhyme or reason to why we did that, other than, hey, we're down by 100. Let's try to get down by 98. We got to do what we can do. And I do think there's that kind of sense of, all right, our way is not working anymore, or my way is not working anymore. How can we make it our way? How can we come together? And that's why the media stuff today and hearing Pope tonight, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way initially after re-listening it. Like in real time, I was like, oh, at least vibes are good. And, they're not just doom and gloom and death and despair. Like I was like, okay, I kind of like their approach. Quotes I didn't love them, but you also didn't want to get a sense of, hey, there is no answer. We don't have an answer. There was still almost a level of not arrogance, but like, hey, you guys are the dramatic ones. We got this. We'll figure this out. Still took ownership and said, hey, we deserve the booze. All of that stuff, what you've seen up to this point in the season, it's all justified in your reaction to it. But we're still the paid professionals that can get this figured out, was the kind of the vibe that I got. Did you get that vibe talking to the players today, that there really is no, even though their on-court play reflected a little bit of panic, that they're, the aftermath post-film, kind of letting the dust settle on Gonzaga a little bit, that they don't give off any sense of like emergency, there's no way we're going to get this turned around.
I did love that Aberdeen took a lot of responsibility. He noted, as far as a press conference goes, he kind of checked every box. He was positive about his teammates. He was positive about, that this can be fixed, but he was also acknowledging the lack of effort. He said that the boos were justified. And I did wonder how players would respond to that, what they would think about that, because that was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And so I thought they handled that decently well. I just hope that you get out to another one of these big games, and if things don't go your way from the start, that they still trust in their teammates and pass the ball. Somebody asked what happened from the Purdue game. I think some of it is they just stopped. Shots didn't go in against Michigan State. and shots didn't go in against North Carolina, and they didn't go in against Gonzaga. And I think this makes everybody tight, like the entire team. It keeps reminding me of the 2022-23 team, who I didn't feel like was completely void of talent. I mean, they returned the National Player of the Year.
I mean,
Severe Wheeler was
most dominant
fine.
player in recent Kentucky memory. Like, I mean,
yeah. And I think that team too, there was just they just played so tight. Like once a few shots didn't go in, it was like, oh no, all right. And then I remember breaking down the film that year and being like, well, I mean, gosh, guys are getting wide open looks, or they're not passing it to their teammate who's wide open, and they're trying to take it themselves. And I think what distinguishes a great team and an okay team or a good team is just that extra pass. And against Purdue, they made that extra pass. And it led to guys, good shooters, getting wide open looks. I mean, when's the last time, like, Jasper, he got some looks, but I feel like he's forcing it a little bit because he's not on the floor very long. And then when he's out on the floor, he doesn't get any clean looks. I mean, the way that they're sagging off on Ortega, they're not doing that with Jasper, right? They're staying up and guarding him. So that means the lanes are a little bit more open there. But we don't know how to take advantage of it. Even when we do, we still miss the layup or we miss the pass. So the design of the offense is there. It's the same thing. If shots go in, Mark Pope's offense looks great. If those shots went into 23, John Calipari's offense looks great. And at a certain point in that 23 season, that what was, I guess, an archaic offense, I'll use air quotes, turned into one of the most efficient offenses in college basketball. So I'm not completely waving the white flag here. They did lose to 4 really good teams. I just think that we have to adjust the expectations. But I think there is somewhat, let's just beat Indiana. Like you said, win that pod. Try to go 2-1. Or can we win them all? Can we go 3-0? Like in that.
I mean, you owe it to the fan base to do the unexpected at this point. Yeah, like I do think that should be our expectation based on how poorly they performed up to this point. I do think 3-0 should be the expectation, but we also know the reality of this current team.
Yeah. I mean, like somebody said in the comments, you are what your record says. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. There are spots where the players are open and they're decent shooters. That some of these have to go in. And there are parts where, like, okay, you make that pass, it's an easy dunk, or you have a wide open layup and you still miss it, or you have teammates open that you don't pass the ball to. Good teams do all those things, right? But as far as players and where they should be on the court, it's there. But I mean, like I pointed out, I mean, the 3-point shooting is just not there. And against the teams that don't suck, Jack, Chandler is 8 for 21. Aberdeen is 6 for 22. Williams is 2 for 11. Ortega 4 for 15. Jasper 2 for 12. Noah 1 for 4. Yelovich 0 for 10. Mo 0 for 6. And that's a total of like 18 out of, what was that? I don't know. It's like
700. Sorry, whatever it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I had the thing pulled up here. Now it's gone, so don't worry about it. But it's like 17%.
Good.
Like that cannot keep up. That eventually shots have to go in. I don't think it turns them into a Final Four team or a championship team. But when shots go in, they won't look like. I mean, come on, Jack. Here's what I'm hoping for: that the improvement to the mean should be pretty significant. If this is like 35%, well, probably not even that high, but just to get to 30%, Jack, they're going to go on a heater at some point. They have to, right? You cannot keep missing this many shots. These guys are too good for that, at least.
So I think we, like I said earlier, to get back in the good graces of BBN, you have to segment this in a way that, like, let's just feel not horrible about it by winning the next 2. And then feel, okay, you feel like you're working with something going into Christmas after potentially beating St. John's and Bellarmine. And then you kind of get back into, okay, we're back. You're feeling okay about it going into SEC play. It's probably fair to say the dreams of, like, unless they happen to go undefeated the rest of the way, something stupid, like, we should probably just understand that the 1 seed, 2 seed dream is over. But that doesn't mean you can't work yourself into position by year's end to be playing your best basketball. It sounded young. It sounded kind of just naive at like, hey, you poor thing, you poor soul. Jasper saying that, you want to be playing your best basketball by the end of the year, the beginning of the year, just kind of is what it is. It's like, yeah, not at Kentucky, and you grew up at Kentucky. You should know as a Lexington kid that's not how we operate here in Lexington. But there is some truth to, like, hey, we're 29% of the way through the regular season. There's still a lot of runway to work with to put yourself in position to make things interesting. The SEC is down. You've cost yourself like serious 1 seed line dreams, but you can still be like, what is the ceiling now, would you say, for this team, Steven? Assuming Jalen comes back and builds momentum with his health, and Jaden comes back in, say, 2 weeks, and Mo Diabate returns and looks to be the Mo that we kind of hoped he would be. What is the ceiling now for this team?
I mean, I still think that this team should be a top 25 team. I mean, KenPom still, as they have him at 20th still. Is that about right? I don't know if you saw the other metric today that put out by College Basketball Analytics that had Kentucky as one of the top teams in there. They put out the chart where it's like effective defense, effective offense, and Kentucky's in the good quadrant of that graph. The numbers still like them. No, I mean, I don't understand it, but that's what the numbers say.
They're beating up on bad teams.
Reason.
I mean, that's the reality is they're just so skewed in the extreme of, hey, they're beating average to horrible teams by 100 points while also losing on the flip side. It's a minus 65 or whatever in point differential against power conference teams. So it's just kind of, I think the computer's trying to figure out how to justify, how to break down losses to very good teams and amazing wins against horrible teams.
Spencer Smith talked about it in one of the last shows. Kentucky was 359th in the KenPom luck rating. They moved up 4 spots, baby. 355th. That's pretty unlucky, though. Seriously, that's pretty unlucky. I know that I was kind of looking into it a little bit, just like how, I don't know the whole formula, but just it's basically like expected shots to go in for the other team versus your expected shots. And I don't know exactly how he formulates it, but it's basically here. I think we can break it down pretty simple. Other teams are making shots they don't normally hit. Kentucky missing shots that they don't normally miss. So maybe, did I get that right? You all get it. You get what this is.
Close
We're
enough.
missing shots. They're making shots. There you go. Is that simple enough?
Sure.
And eventually that has to even itself out to some degree. That luck doesn't even put in injuries. But at the bottom line, you have to make your own luck sometimes. And you're not going to make your own luck by not hustling, by not going after every loose ball, by jogging back on defense. This stuff is fixable if they want to fix it. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole message is the guys are getting open looks. These guys shoot a good enough percentage that it's serviceable. It should be. They should shoot a good enough percentage. These are good enough shooters. We don't have any great shooters, but we have good enough shooters that this should be better. But as far as but that's all, shots can go in, shots don't go in, whatever. If they want to fix the effort, if they want it enough, some of this is fixable. I don't think you fix it into a national title contender, honestly, but it's fixable enough that you can have a good season. This doesn't have to be a total disaster.
Put yourself in the conversation. We know the tournament odds. Unfortunately, the AP poll thing that came out today, where you got to be a top 12 team to win a national championship at this specific week of the AP poll, it's like the magic. It sucks that we're not in that conversation. Probably not anything less than that expectation, the standard that we kind of set going into the season. That, hey, you paid for a national championship. You're the New York Yankees. You bought a championship and that you didn't get a championship roster. That sucks. The reality of that sucks, but you can still salvage it in that way of just put yourself in the conversation, go on a little run, reestablish an idea. I guess you haven't even found an identity yet. So just find your identity, whether it's through JQ, whether it's through Jalen Lowe, just getting healthy, whatever the case is, just use this. There's a lot of time right now on your side. especially in December, just 3 games over the course of the next, several weeks to get us to Christmas, 4 games total. Like, use this time to hunker down and practice and get connect as a team. That is the only key to any of this working. The product that we saw down in Nashville will be that will be a fireable, like, coaching change worthy product if it continues in that way. Yes. Where you're losing games by 100 and fans turn on you and they're booing. Like, if it turns into a toxic mess, then yeah, we're talking a total program reset. But it doesn't have to be that way. We don't want it to be that way. We want this, and I think fans will be so much happier rooting for this team if they give you something to root for. And just in terms of passion, like, go get a dunk in transition and scream and yell and, like Amari Williams. When Amari would get fouled, get an and one, he'd go up to that student section and go, "Let's go," Give them something to root for, because they haven't done that yet. Like, this honestly has not been a very likable Kentucky team. Like, I haven't found myself giving, like, fist bumps on press row the way I'm used to doing. They're just kind of like, I'm not feeling that connection with this team the way I usually do, and that's on them. Like, that's on the players to build that connection with me as a fan, you as a fan, all of us as fans. And that comes with the energy, that comes with the intensity, that comes with the non-negotiables that we didn't see in Nashville. And I worry about the basketball part second. Like, I feel like I trust Pope in that regard to get the basketball side of things figured out. What I don't trust him with necessarily is to get the clashing egos to come together and make that work. That's player led. Like, that has to be. Players, if
who's the leader?
Somebody step up.
Step up.
If there is a serious issue in the locker room, go to Dick's Sporting Goods, get a bunch of boxing gloves, and everybody just duke it out. Just handle your business, grow up, and move on. Whatever the case is, and let's put forth a product on the floor that makes BBN proud from an energy and effort standpoint, and then everything else I trust to figure itself out eventually. But if that first step doesn't get taken care of, this will never get fixed, and we're going to have a serious conversation by year's end. So that's where my optimism comes from. I think they're going to put the egos aside, and they're going to get this figured out mentally, and be engaged in that locker room, and then everything else will hopefully sort itself out. So,
yep,
I feel a lot better. I feel much better right now than I did leaving Nashville. We drove back together and had some really hard conversations coming back.
Yeah,
I'm glad though that doesn't have to be the tune right now.
Unfortunately, none of those conversations started with, "Hey, if you get a link sent to you in your DMs by somebody who used to work in media and wants to be on a podcast, don't click on it." I wish the conversation could have got steered in that direction. But 100% I agree with you. Somebody has to step up. This has to be team driven. The effort has to be there. It has to, or
cooked, done.
I mean,
dead.
this. Do you really want to be like, come on, do you want to be on the Kentucky team that, like, everyone points at as like, that set them back? It set the whole Mark Pope era back a couple years. Because if this thing does fall into disaster, Jack, it makes me very concerned about the ability to bring great players in, because I wonder is the money going to be there next year? The whole selling point of Mark Pope is to have this great offense that guys want to play in, to have this system people want to play in. It doesn't look like that. How do you? And then we have the whole thing with like playing time, and nobody's playing over 30 minutes, so you're gonna share a role, and it's not going to be fun. And by the way, the fans are pissed all the time. This thing could snowball, so they have no choice. There must be effort. This must get better. We'll be in April going like, is this like? Is there a year 4?
To answer this question, pride. It's the alternative is they go down as one of the most underwhelming, disappointing products to ever play for the school.
Yeah.
Would you want to sign up for that? Even if you didn't have the Lexington pride, Malachi being from Georgetown, Trent, if you didn't have that in your heart and soul, Kentucky in your DNA, like, do you want to be associated with one of the most disappointing products to ever come through the program? Because that's where we're trending. Like, that's where this is. It's just kind of a want to. It's just there's no other choice but to get this turned around and put forth a product that the fan base can be proud of. So it's hopium. It doesn't come from anything of substance outside of just health, more continuity and guys getting more familiar, weeding out hey, there's just not a path for this guy to play here. There's just not a path for these two players to be on the floor at the same time. Like, it's just as we get a greater sample size of guys playing together, you just learn more about this team. And we just haven't gotten a whole lot of that up to this point. So yeah, a lot of it is just an understanding of pride and knowing that, we think of how we look back at that 2020, 21 team, like just disappointment. The Skal Labissiere team, just kind of.
This would be worse.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it would be.
Because of the expectations for that team were obviously high, but this one, and especially because we kind of know the price tag, and that kind of makes it like
90% of it for me personally, and for I think the general fan base. It's what the return on investment has been, and how they have approached the reward that comes with being at the University of Kentucky, but also being paid what they're being paid to play the University of Kentucky. Like that's added to the stink. But we'll see. No choice, nowhere to go but up, and let's hope for the best. Anything that you can see tomorrow that would make you feel better outside of winning by 7,042?
No. Because we've seen them do this. This kind of, it could be, maybe we'll get another highlight. Maybe Zach Toe hit a couple threes.
Jalen Lowe going for 20 and 10, something like, to make you feel that his health and is in a spot where this is sustainable, because I do think a lot is riding on him staying healthy, and is that feasible? Like, is his shoulder going to pop out of place at any given point? Those are questions for another day, and just the what ifs of that. Like, we already have enough on our plate right now that we don't even need to worry about the what ifs. So I think that's probably the one thing that I could take away is Jalen looking like Jalen, and thinking, okay, well, if he's comfortable with his body as is right now, then maybe there's real hope going into Indiana. And then you just kind of push all your chips in on the Hoosiers in the mustiest win of all must wins in December existence. So fingers crossed. Here goes nothing. What can you do? Kentucky 5-4 on the year, coming off absolute embarrassing performance down in Nashville. But hey, go Cats now, always, and forever. Jack Pilgrim, Stephen Peak, and Sean Smith. We'll see you next time.